You spent your whole life believing that controlling everything was the way, that planning every step, anticipating every mistake, and holding the reins tightly was a sign of maturity. But what if I told you that the biggest block between you and the miracle you've been waiting for is exactly this need for control? It's hard to hear, I know, but some people are locking up their own lives because they still haven't learned to release what was never in their hands. The irony is that the more you try to control, the faster things slip through your fingers. You pray, you visualize, you work hard, but it feels like something invisible is still holding you back. Maybe because you still don't understand what it means to truly trust. And it's not trusting only when everything is aligned. It's trusting when nothing makes sense. In this video, you'll discover why letting go isn't giving up. It's making room for the miracle to enter. How your mind is sabotaging you, even when it looks organized. The secret that turns anxiety into synchronicity, and how to live at a frequency that attracts without chasing. We'll walk together through real stories, simple practices, and truths you may never have been told. And when this video ends, you won't just understand what trust is, you will feel it in your body. And in that state, the impossible begins to happen. The beginning, the story of a recovering controller. He always believed he needed to keep everything under control. Every detail, every stage, every detour, everything had to go through his hands. It was as if the world were always on the verge of collapsing unless he held it together. But that silent tension comes at a high price. The body warns, the soul tires, and life starts to jam. Once he was leading an important project. He had plans, spreadsheets, deadlines, everything on paper. But curiously, the harder he tried, the less it flowed. Obstacles appeared from the least expected places. The team seemed unsure. The progress? Slow, dragged out, exhausting, until, for lack of options, he had to let go. He delegated, he breathed, he trusted. And the improbable happened. The project came to life. People engaged in a different way. New ideas emerged, creative solutions sprouted, and most surprising, the final result was even better than what he had envisioned on his own. The lesson was stamped on his heart. Controlling is different from conducting. The truth is, there are people trying to be both conductor and musician at the same time, and that drains you. Imagine a conductor trying to play the violin, beat the drum, blow the trumpet, all at once, and still conduct the orchestra. It's chaos, it's noise, it's exhaustion. Good music only happens when each instrument is respected, and when the conductor learns to trust the collective. That's when he realized that letting go of control isn't giving up. It's trusting. It's understanding that there is a greater intelligence at work, both in others and in life. But of course, the ego screams. The mind resists, because it learned that control brings safety. Even though deep down it's exactly the opposite. Excessive control puts you at war with the natural flow. And when you live in an inner war, the body feels it. Constant shoulder tension, shallow breathing, racing thoughts. The sense that if you stop, everything will fall apart. That's why one of the first keys to letting go is teaching the body that it is safe. And that begins with something simple yet powerful. Conscious breathing. Try it now. Inhale deeply for 4 seconds and exhale slowly for 6 seconds. Do this a few times. Repeat once more and again. This 4-6 rhythm is like telling your body, we are safe. It's almost like an inner hug, a silent message to the nervous system. You don't have to fight right now. This kind of practice doesn't only change your physical state, it changes the frequency you operate on. And when your frequency shifts, your choices shift too. You start deciding with more clarity, speaking with more presence, feeling with more truth. Little by little, the autopilot of control begins to shut down, and feeling begins to lead. Of course, no one becomes an ex-controller overnight. It's a restart, a training, and like any training, it requires compassion for your own stumbles. One of his greatest learnings was to accept when the impulse to do everything alone arose, and still choose differently. Choose to let go. Choose to trust. Choose to allow. Trust, by the way, isn't born when everything is right. It's born in the middle of chaos, in the dark, when you've tried everything and realize you can't control the unpredictable. And it's precisely at this point of surrender that the miracle happens. The flow enters, synchronicity arrives, and life finally starts to dance with you. And the most curious thing is that after a while you look back and ask yourself, why did I insist so much on controlling? It was fear. It was the inner child, afraid of making mistakes, afraid of not being enough. But in truth, all it needed was someone to say, hey, it's okay, you can rest a little. Life isn't going to collapse. So if today you feel like you're carrying the world on your shoulders, maybe it's time to hear this call. Letting go of control isn't irresponsibility. It's maturity. It's choosing to live lighter, more fluid, more aligned. Because sometimes it's only when you loosen the reins that life's horse finally runs in the right direction. Now, what if I told you that it was precisely the moment he let everything go that the improbable began to happen? Two's the day I let go and the improbable happened. It was one of those days when everything felt out of place. Plans undone, delayed replies, strange energy in the air. He tried, and nothing fit. Every attempt to fix it only created more resistance. And then came the moment of surrender. Sitting on the edge of the bed, exhausted from fighting the invisible, he let go. It wasn't pretty, nor heroic. It was a tired sigh, a quiet enough between his teeth. He didn't know what would come next. He only knew that he didn't want to carry it alone anymore. And there, in the vacuum of expectation, something different happened. An unexpected message arrived, then an unlikely encounter, then a call, an opportunity, a chain of synchronicities. None of it had been planned, but it felt orchestrated. It was as if, by letting go of control, he made space, as if he told the universe, now it's your turn. And surprisingly, the universe responded, with lightness, with precision, with an intelligence he never could have predicted. That's when he understood. The improbable lives in the invisible and only appears when you step aside. That episode flipped an inner switch, because he always thought he needed to know the how it would happen, how it would come, how it would work out. But that day, he understood. Letting go of the how is what speeds up the when. The plan only arrives when attachment goes away. Of course, the mind resisted. But what if it doesn't work? What if you're deluding yourself? What if no one is listening on the other side? Questions that jam the flow. But something deeper answered back. What if there is? That positive what if became his new prayer. And that's when a phrase was born that he never forgot. Who are you not to trust? He typed it into his phone, stuck it on a post-it, repeated it like a mantra, because trusting isn't arrogance, it's humility. It's admitting there is something greater, and that it also wants to help you. Maybe deep down the problem isn't the waiting, but the tension with which you wait. When you wait gripping, life grips too. When you wait trusting, doors open. It's as if your body's frequency says, I'm ready to receive. He started to test it. Instead of planning every detail, he asked for clarity. Instead of forcing meetings, he cultivated presence. Instead of trying to control others, he observed what he could control within himself. It was subtle, but potent, and little by little, the improbable became routine. So of course, not everything turned out as expected, but strangely, the unexpected was even better. It was truer, more aligned, as if life were saying, I know your desires better than you do. And somehow, it truly did. Today, whenever anxiety hits, he remembers, letting go of the how speeds up the when. It's a reminder that trusting isn't passivity. It's an active way to collaborate with the invisible. It's when you do your part and hand the rest to the one who sees the whole. So tell me, lads, who are you not to trust? And what if what you've been waiting for is just waiting for you to let go? 3. Fact or story? The mental potato that drains you. He was always good at thinking, analyzing, reasoning. But one day he noticed that overthinking then was becoming a burden. It was as if his brain never turned off, a pressure cooker always on. And inside it, the thick stew of worries he himself kept feeding. He woke up already doing the math, went to sleep rehearsing dialogues that never happened. Any simple decision became a minefield, the kind that goes, what if this, what if that, what if it's different? It was like carrying invisible sacks of potatoes. Every half-digested thought became a new load on his back. That's when he heard a curious story. A teacher asked students to bring potatoes, one for each grudge, doubt, or persistent thought. They put the potatoes in a bag and had to carry it all day. At the end of the day, they were exhausted. And the bag? It stank. It rotted. Maybe like our minds when we don't release what weighs us down. He laughed at the metaphor, but it hurt, because he realized he did that often. He took a simple fact and layered it with interpretations. She didn't reply became, she doesn't care about me. He cancelled the meeting became, he's sabotaging me. The fact was neutral, but the story was heavy. That day he created a practice that changed everything. He wrote on one line the fact, what really happened, and below he wrote the story he told about it. Putting them side by side made it obvious. It was the mind creating a soap opera where there was only a headline. For example, fact, the client rescheduled the meeting. Story, I'm incompetent, he no longer trusts me. Fact, I received a critique. Story, they're always against me. See the difference? The mind interprets and the body feels. And the problem is that the body doesn't distinguish reality from imagination. It reacts to thought as if it were absolute truth. It drains your energy, speeds up your heart, steals your sleep, all because of a poorly told story, a story you yourself wrote without noticing. That's why he decided to do this exercise every week. He took a situation that bothered him and cut one belief that only added weight. Sometimes it was hard, but by eliminating one story, he gained lightness. Want an example of how to apply it? Grab paper and pen or your phone's notes app. Write down a recent fact, something neutral, direct, objective. Below it, jot what your mind has been saying about it. Then ask yourself, what if this is actually true? This exercise isn't about being positive all the time. It's about being honest. It's about returning to the now where things are simpler and less frightening than they seem in our heads. Because in the end he understood, what tires you most isn't what happens, it's what he thinks about what happens, and if that's true, isn't it time to review the story you've been telling yourself? Point number 4, the meaning that holds you back. For years he carried an invisible label, I'm terrible at this. It was about public speaking. Even when he mastered the content, he froze, cold sweat, stammering. It seemed part of him believed he would fail before he even started. That label began long ago in a silly episode. He was 13. He misread a text out loud and his classmates laughed. That day, he decided something without noticing. I wasn't born for this. Decades later, the body still remembered, even with study, experience, technical mastery. His voice wavered, his hands sweated. It wasn't lack of preparation. It was the old meaning, still stuck in the present. So until one day, after yet another frustrating presentation, he looked in the mirror and asked himself, what if I changed this label right now? What if I saw myself as someone who learns? Someone who is in process, not under judgment? This simple question opened inner space. It wasn't magic, but in that space, air entered, gentleness entered, and for the first time he saw himself, without the weight of the label. It's like wearing those goofy carnival glasses, you know? The lenses are warped, colorful, and distort everything, and you swear the world is strange. But in truth, you're just looking through something that isn't even yours. And the worst? You get used to the crooked lens. How many distorted meanings do we carry without noticing? I'm not good with money. No one stays. I'm hard to love. All of these are statements that became truth without ever being questioned. So he started asking himself, what meaning is holding me back today? What label do I still use as an excuse? And especially, what can I choose to believe now? If you want to try this exercise right now, Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and answer internally, if I changed one meaning today, what would it be? What new label would you choose to wear? I'm learning. I'm transforming. I'm opening to the new. Say it out loud. Feel it in your body. Because the meaning that holds you back is the same one that can set you free. If you have the courage to change the lens and allow yourself to see the world with new eyes, and if the crooked lens has fallen, who could you become with a clear view? 5. Movie and viewer. You are not the character. One day he was at the cinema watching a drama. Main character anguished, tense scenes, heavy music. For a moment he caught himself emotional, heart racing. But then he looked around and remembered, I'm only watching. I am not this character. That awareness shifted something inside him, because he noticed how in real life he did the opposite. He felt an emotion and thought that was him. He thought something negative and took it as identity. He became the character and forgot he could simply watch. The mind creates scenes all the time. I'm not capable. Everything will go wrong. She's going to leave me. And when you believe without observing, you walk into the script without noticing. But what if you sat in the seat of your inner cinema and watched thoughts as if they were just thoughts? As if you were eating popcorn and saying, look at what my mind just created. No attachment, no struggle, just presence. He began practicing this daily. When a strong emotion arose, he named it anger, fear, shame, and then he breathed and said, I am the one who observes. This simple change of place changed everything. It didn't eliminate the feeling, but it created space. It was like stepping out of the storm and looking through the window. The rain still fell, but he was dry. He was lucid. You can test this now if you want. Close your eyes for a moment. When a thought comes, say thought. When an emotion arises, say emotion. And feel what happens when you watch, without confusing yourself with the content. At first it feels strange. The mind will want you to react, judge, dive into the drama. But the more you watch and the more you remember, you are not the story. You are the screen on which everything appears and disappears. This isn't indifference, it's freedom. It's having inner space to choose how to respond to what life presents. It's being able to watch without having to carry it all. Because in the end he discovered pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And that choice begins in when you stop being the character and return to being the viewer. Now tell me, if you are not your thoughts, and who would you be if you simply watch the next act? Point number 6, frequency, coherence, and the heart. He'd always heard about frequency and energy, but it sounded vague, too mystical, until he understood it in practice. Frequency isn't magic, it's signal. Every thought plus emotion generates a signal that is sent into the field around you. If you think one thing but feel the opposite, the signal goes out mixed. It's like trying to tune a radio with the dial misaligned. Static comes out, interference, and the sound doesn't come through clearly. The mind says it will work out, but the body feels fear. The mouth smiles, but the heart is tense. That misalignment creates noise in the field, and the universe responds to what you vibrate, not what you say. So he created a simple image to understand it: the kitchen radio. When the frequency is clean, the music flows. When there's interference, the melody is lost. And the worst, sometimes you don't even notice how out of tune you are. This coherence between mind and heart is what makes the signal clear. And a clear signal creates clear synchronicities. The universe picks it up with more precision. But how do you align these two centers? He began with a simple path. Remember a real scene of gratitude, nothing forced, nothing rehearsed, just a moment that made his heart smile. Maybe a genuine hug, a sunset on the right day, a look that embraced without words, small things but that still live in the chest. Then he closed his eyes and breathed into that scene for 6 deep breaths. He felt the warmth in his chest. He held the feeling for 20 seconds, as if he were charging the field with that effective memory. And the more he did this, the more his thoughts calmed. The mind followed the heart, not the other way around. Intuition became clearer. The world around him responded with more fluidity. Because in the end, it's not about thinking positive. It's about feeling with coherence and emitting a signal that says, I am ready in mind, body, and spirit. And if you did this now, what real scene of gratitude can you relive in this moment? Sayadaw living from the end without becoming a prisoner of the future. He first heard about living from the end in an old book. The idea was simple but powerful. Feel now, as if it were already real. But in practice, he noticed a hidden risk, becoming a hostage to what hasn't arrived yet. For a while, he tried to vibrate as if he already had it, but deep down, he only thought about what was still missing. It was forced theater, a pretend that triggered more anxiety. Then he understood. It's not pretending. It's rehearsing. It's like an actor before opening night. He isn't on the main stage yet, but he rehearses with such devotion that the character starts being born from within. He feels it before he sees it. That dress rehearsal analogy helped him a lot. Instead of waiting for everything to change to feel different, he began to act as if he already were, not with haste, but with coherence between intention and attitude. For example, if he wanted to be more prosperous, when he asked, "How does my end self think?" What attitudes would he take today? And then, he took one small step in that direction. To make it easier, he created 3 daily questions. 1. How does my end self think and act? 2. What is the smallest 10-minute step I can take now? 3. What will I not do today, so I don't sabotage my state? Simple, but extremely transformative. This changed the way he moved in the world. He stopped living as if he were almost there, and he began to honor the now with the energy of what's to come. The result? Less expectation, more presence. Because living from the end only works when you still allow yourself to live the middle, not as an obstacle, but as rehearsal, as vibrational maturing. And every time anxiety came, he remembered, I'm not a prisoner of what hasn't arrived yet. I'm the gardener of what I'm planting, and the end already pulses within me now. So tell me, how would the you who has already won act today? 8. Inspired action, setbacks, and the seed test. He was excited. Everything seemed to align. He had visualized, felt gratitude, his body vibrated confidence. He took the first steps, reached out, planted inspired actions. But then, silence. Nothing happened. For weeks, everything stayed still. Unanswered messages, closed doors, the field silence. The mind began to doubt. Did I fool myself? Am I not on the right path? That's when he almost quit. But he breathed. He remembered what he'd learned. When you plant a seed, there's no point in digging it up the next day to see if it's sprouting. He needed to trust the invisible, because there's a time that isn't negotiable, the time of maturation. And in that time, the role isn't to speed up the miracle, but to protect the state. The seed analogy became his refuge. He understood, planting is easy. Waiting, with faith, is the real test. While the sprout doesn't show, you water, you care, you quiet yourself, and you believe. In that process, he created an anti-dip protocol. He called it 3D3. 3 minutes of breathing calm to clear the anxiety. 3 lines of journaling. What is still within my reach today? And then 3 micro actions of up to 10 minutes. Simple things that kept the energy moving. 1 message, 1 paragraph, 1 gesture. Action without attachment, movement without pressure. This protocol saved his journey more than once. Because every chosen one will be tested at the seed. And many don't quit for lack of faith, but for impatience, for not understanding that the invisible germinates in silence. Today he looks back and sees that the greatest gifts came after the almost. That contact that seemed lost returned weeks later. That forgotten idea blossomed in a new form. The improbable responded at the exact time. And you? What seed are you trying to dig up before it's time? The return to trust, living as one who already is. After so much ground covered, he realized the journey wasn't to arrive at something. It was to return to being. The trust he sought so much was never outside. It always lived at the center of his chest. It was just muffled by layers of fear, control, and haste. And when everything quiets down, you listen. Not with your ears, but with your body. The heart speaks with subtlety, and the soul, which once whispered, now guides the steps with silent firmness. He realized something beautiful. He no longer needed to create the future, because he was already living as someone who trusts the invisible. Anxiety gave way to deep breathing, doubt to presence. Then the perfect analogy came. A bird doesn't question the wind, it simply opens its wings, eats and flies. It trusts the instinct it was given. It's not about living carefree, but about living centered, like someone who knows there's something greater and is connected to it. He stopped chasing the right time and began to walk at the rhythm of spirit. Have you noticed how some people have a calm that inspires? Not because their lives are perfect, but because they rest in who they are. They aren't stuck on what's missing. They're present to what has already blossomed within. That was his greatest shift. He stopped being someone trying to manifest what he wants and became someone who lives as one who already is. It was a silence that needed to prove nothing, a peace that came without effort. If you want, you can practice this now. Close your eyes for a moment, scan your body, feel where there's tension, breathe into that spot, and gently ask yourself, what can I release now to trust more? Maybe you'll realize you don't need all the answers, nor extraordinary signs, just one more step in the direction of what already vibrates within you. Trust is a return, not an achievement. And then he smiled, because he finally understood that when you truly trust and there's nothing left to seek, only to live. Now that everything has been laid out, take a deep breath, close your eyes for a moment, and feel in your body. What among all this touched you most deeply? What part of control are you ready to release today? What thought did you realize you no longer need to feed? What small action can signal to the universe, I trust? Not just with words, but with posture, with presence. Letting go isn't a one-time event, it's a daily choice. It's remembering at every tension in the body, every plan that fails, every silence on the other side, that there is a place within you where peace is already made. So tell me in the comments, what was the strongest insight for you in this video? What phrase will you stick on your mirror as a trust reminder? And what micro-action will you practice in the next 24 hours to live this new state? Your sharing might be the key for someone on the same path, who just needs a word like yours to awaken. Let's keep this space as a living field of transformation, of people who don't just listen, but commit to their own expansion. If this video lit something inside you, like it, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because here we don't just talk about spirituality, we live aligned with it, one step at a time. And in the next video, you'll see what happens when this state becomes your new normal.